Good to see everybody. We have a beautiful day, and we have what I hope is a great and powerful presentation for you this morning. I really appreciate everyone's attention, and please just give us your full attention today. A lot of people put a lot of work into what's going on this morning, and there's a lot of people who care about all of you, and that's why we're doing this, because we care about you, and we want you to be safe and successful, have a wonderful prom, and have all the great things that life has to offer. I'm Lieutenant Drew from the Lawrence Police Department. You might remember me from this past August when I came to speak to most of you, I think, when you were getting your parking permits. And I'm always happy to come out and meet with you and work with the high school. I'm a 1995 graduate. Go Cardinals! And I was also an assistant wrestling coach for about 10 years here. So I have a big commitment to Lawrence High School and Lawrence Township community. When I spoke in August, I spoke about what a big responsibility it is to drive, how important it is to make good decisions. Unfortunately, I know that some of you have been involved in crashes since we spoke or touched by crashes, so you know how real the dangers can be. The risks I spoke of in August regarding driving safety are real, and unfortunately, this is often the most dangerous time of year for newer drivers. With beautiful weather, proms, graduations, parties, and celebrations, there are so many things to distract you from being safe. So many things to tempt you from being responsible. Almost every spring, there's a high school student from somewhere in the county or the region who doesn't make it to graduation because of a preventable traffic death. Please don't let it be you. I'm going to call out the responding officers. Obviously, you see the crash scene. We're going to have fire, police, EMS, all coming out here. Each of them is going to act like they would at a real crash scene. And you'll see how it unravels. '88 to 215.
Good.
Report of a collision in front of 2525 Princeton Pike. Please have officers respond.
230 will be responding. 204, did you copy that?
Oftentimes when officers are responding, they don't know what they're actually going to see at some of these scenes. Sometimes it sounds really bad, and it turns out to be minor. Other times, it sounds like it will be very minor, and turns out being very bad. We never really know. In Lawrence Township, we have about anywhere from 1,300 to 1,500 reportable crashes a year. Most of the crashes, they really are avoidable. They're preventable. We're getting additional calls, possible entrapment, possible ejection. 2005. 10-4, ejection and entrapment, 2 vehicles in the roadway.
We have injuries. We're going to need fire and EMS.
Fire, EMS, and rescue en route. Six 215. We're going to need additional units for traffic.
36.
The first thing that officers do when they arrive at a scene, First, they're going to survey it, make sure that it's safe for them to approach. We'll have cars that go into utility poles and wires will come down. So we want to make sure that we can actually approach the cars and be able to help and not just become another victim ourselves. Once we can actually approach the cars safely, our primary mission is to render aid. In a situation like this, our abilities are really hamstrung because there's serious injury, there's ejection from the vehicle in the hatchback, and because of the severity of the crash, there's also people entrapped. Once you think that you might have some kind of spinal or neck injury, you're not going to move the people. The occupants are going to have to stay in the car, as uncomfortable and as scary as it is. They just need to remain as still as they can, and as much as we want to help them, there's really not a whole lot that we can do at this point. Back. Go. A crash like this is going to require a lot of emergency services personnel. There's going to be combustible fluids on the ground from the cars that are leaking. There's multiple injuries, and you're also going to have all of the victims that need to be cut out. The first responder firefighters are the ones who are actually going to be removing the people from the car, popping the doors, cutting roofs off if necessary. EMS has arrived on scene, as have the paramedics. The paramedics are able to give advanced life support if needed. They're like an emergency room on wheels. As additional resources are responding and arriving at the crash scene, the officers are starting to change gears from rendering first aid to actually looking at this as a criminal investigation, possibly. They know at minimum that there's some kind of motor vehicle violations. Judging by the age of the occupants of the car, it looks like there's probably provisional driver's license violations. I saw that Detective Lee at one point retrieved a bottle from the sedan. He's also retrieved, I think, a cell phone. They're going to be looking to see, is it alcohol? Was there cell phone usage? What caused this crash? The officers are they're changing gears. They're responding to a crash. It may have seemed minor. They arrive, they see kids, maybe that they dealt with, maybe that their kids played baseball with. One of them's dead on the hood of the car. But they're changing gears to see what happened and carry on with their job. It can be very, very difficult. The firefighters confirm that there's entrapment in the vehicles. One firefighter is using what's called a Halligan bar on the hatchback to try to pop the door before they have to do anything further, like cut it off or use the jaws of life. Officer Dunn is with the driver. He's talked to her a little bit. He's been watching how she's acting, how she's reacting to his questions. And based on her responses and the fact that there was some alcohol in that bottle, he's starting to run some sobriety tests. What he's doing now is the HGN, the horizontal gaze nystagmus test. He's using his pen as a stimulus, and what he's doing is testing the movements of her eyes. No matter how experienced of a drinker you might be, how old you are, how young you are, your eyes don't lie. So he's testing the movement, and he's looking to see how your eyes move. When they start jumping around from spot to spot, they can't follow the stimulus smoothly. It's an indication that you're intoxicated with alcohol. The more serious the nystagmus, the bounce of the eyes, the more intoxicated the person is. There's 6 different tests that he'll do just for intoxication, 3 to each eye. He's talking to her about a vertical nystagmus going up and down. That's going to test for some indications of possible marijuana usage. It reacts differently to your eyes. Meanwhile, the firefighters and EMTs are trying to extricate the occupants of the vehicle. They've already made the determination that one life has been lost and is not savable. The person who was ejected is on the hood of the car, and we can't do anything for him. What I would be thinking right now about if I was actually working the scene as a supervisor is, who is this young person and who's going to be the unfortunate officer to go to their house, knock on the door, and tell their loved ones that their child died, that their sister or brother died in a car crash. It's something that I've done more times than I wish that I had to. And it's something that never leaves you, to be the person to knock on a door and unexpectedly tell a family member that the person they love is dead. When it's a young person, it's really traumatizing. Right now, our driver is doing the heel-to-toe walk. She's been given a set of instructions, and the instructions are multi-layered. She would have been told, first, that she has to stand there and listen. Second, a specified number of steps that she would have to take in a straight line, heel-to-toe. And third, she'd actually have to perform it without using her hands for balance, anything like that. What we're looking for is, can you retain your balance? Can you take the steps the way that you need to take them, heel to toe, 1 foot in front of another? Can you count to the right number? When you get to that number, you're going to have to turn around without losing balance, come back the same specified number of times to the officer. We're looking to see if you can perform each of those tasks. Now she's doing the one-legged stand. She's been instructed to count to 30. While she's counting, she needs to raise 1 foot about 6 inches off the ground, keep her hands at her side, look straight ahead, and keep her balance. She's having difficulty doing it. What we're looking for, again, your ability to follow instructions, and how long does it actually take you to count to 30? Depending on what you've been ingesting, whether it's drugs or alcohol, it has different effects on you. So if you're using an upper, you're going to count to 30 really fast. If you're using something that's going to sedate you, like marijuana, it might take you 45 seconds to count to 30. That's all giving us an indication of if you're impaired and what you may have taken. Due to the severity of the injuries, we had to bring out the jaws of life. They were able to open one door. We call it popping the door. Your classmate's in the back of the sedan. He already has a neck brace on. It looks like he has a compound fracture of his leg. I'm guessing by the injuries that he was not wearing his seatbelt. No one here expected this tonight. No one. When it was just one beer, 2 drinks, smoking a little marijuana, it seemed innocent. It's not so innocent anymore. Unfortunately, it's not just drugs and alcohol that causes terrible crashes like this. It's also careless driving, texting, being on a cell phone, whether you're scrolling through looking for a song, anything. It takes your eyes off the road and crashes happen really, really fast. Recent studies have shown that texting while driving causes many more accidents than drunk driving. When you text and drive, you are 23 times more likely to get into a crash. 23 times. In 2017, 2,700 teenagers died as a result of drunk driving accidents. 2,700 teenagers died from traffic accidents in 1 year. As bad as that sounds, over 10,000 teens lost their lives during the same year because they were texting. 10,000 teens nationwide because of texting. The texting can wait. Your one classmate, he's injured very badly. He's been boarded, and he's going to be going to the trauma center. Think about it. You're stuck in a car. Your bones are coming out through your skin. You have a neck brace on. You're getting loaded into an ambulance. Are you ever going to walk again? What's the rest of your life have in store for you? You don't know. All from something that probably seemed innocent and fun at the time. A study found that reaction times for those who texted while driving were 35% worse than when they drove without any distractions at all. 35% decrease in your reaction time. Compare that to intoxicated driving. It was only 12% worse. Texting while driving is 3 times as bad as intoxicated driving. It looks like to do the full rescue, they're having to take the roof off the one car. We still have a victim here who's getting rescue breaths. They're using what's called an ambu bag to help breathe for him. He's got a neck brace on, So they suspect from the severity of the crash that he might have some kind of spinal injury. That makes it a lot harder to give him aid. That means that they need an airway. It's about 4 or 5 inches long of hard, curved plastic that they're going to shove in his mouth all the way to the back of his throat, twist it to try to get an airway so that they could breathe for him. CPR is in progress. That means he had no pulse. Right now, they're breathing for him. They're pumping blood through his body for him. And I'll tell you what, CPR is something that I've done several times. It's another thing you never forget. When you give CPR and you press down on someone's rib cage and sternum a way it's not supposed to go, they all break and crack, and you feel it. And I know while I'm doing CPR and hopefully saving someone's life, I know the excruciating pain that they're going to be in for months, maybe even a year after, because of the aid that I gave them. None of this stuff is pretty. Think about hearing about this crash the next morning. Losing at least one person who you've been with maybe your entire childhood is gone. They didn't make it to graduation. When you get to graduation, there's going to be an empty seat where they should have sat so everyone could remember them. Let's not do that to each other. Let's all make it. Let's make it together. Let's be responsible and be responsible for each other. When you see someone doing something wrong, stop them. If you're in a car with a friend and they pick up their cell phone, have them put it down. Use it for them. Most of the stuff is simple, and it saves lives. It could save your life. It could save your friend's life. It could save your parents' life, because your parents could be out on the road and this intoxicated or texting driver could run into them. Your mother or father, they could be the one on the hood of the car instead of a classmate. We all have a responsibility for each other. After the recreational legalization of marijuana in one state, the proportion of marijuana-positive drivers involved in fatal crashes increased from 8% to 17% in 1 year. It doubled in 1 year with the legalization. Over the past decade in Colorado, which was one of the first states to legalize marijuana, there's been a 25% decrease in total fatalities, which is great. That means that people are buckling up, cars are safer. But during that same time period, there was a 79% increase in the number of fatalities resulting from drug drivers. Drug drivers testing positive for marijuana, 79% increase. According to the Governor's Highway Safety Association, almost 44% of fatally injured drivers in 2016 tested positive for drugs. 44% positive for drugs. Right now, the extrications have been completed for anyone who survived these car crashes. Our one unfortunate fatality is still out there on the hood of the car for all the passing motorists to see. Helpless and dead. Officers are going to her house to make notification to her parents that she's no longer with us. She was innocent in this. She was just in the car with her friends. Someone else took her life irresponsibly. She's going to be taken away and go to the medical examiner's office where she'll be autopsied. She'll be laid out on a table, a steel, cold metal table. They'll cut her open. They'll inspect each organ. They take a scalpel and they take the organ out. They weigh it. They slice it. They take toxicology, lab work, to see if she was intoxicated, anything like that, to determine for sure that this was the cause of death. Stuff like this never leaves you. I've had classmates who've died. Car crashes, drug overdoses, and I don't forget about it. Like I said, I've been out of high school since 1995. I still think about them and what a terrible loss it was. High school reunions that they'll never be at, dreams that they never fulfilled, siblings who will never have that brother or sister back. Please don't let it be the class of 2019. You have the control to stop it. Shortly, we're going to leave here and go into the auditorium. We're going to have Dr. Quinlan from Capitol Health at Fold. He's a trauma surgeon. He's the person that you would meet when you have these terrible, terrible injuries. Something like this takes a toll on an entire community. Not just the family who lost somebody, not just the people in the car, an entire community. They're going to transport the injured and the deceased, and we're going to go into the auditorium. I'll see you in there.
They usually airlift from the situation to, I'm old school, I'm gonna call it the Fold. It's called Capitol Health System, Capitol Regional Medical Center. And these guys perform their magic. So you got one of the stars of the show when it comes to trauma, Dr. Quinlan. Give him a round of applause.
Thank you. I don't know if I can live up to the magic. It's not magic, it's medicine, but I'm Dennis Quinlan. I'm one of the trauma surgeons down the street, 4 blocks away. We are responsible for where you live, okay? You are in our catchment area. No one, Dr. Salem is the trauma surgeon on call tonight. He does not want to see any of you. I promised Dr. Salem none of you would see him tonight, all right? So you're gonna have to keep my promise to him. Nancy Disselkamp, she's here today. She's arranges all our outreach stuff like this and Stop the Bleed and other programs. All right, so here's the rubber meets the road, all right? Vehicle crashes are the #1 killer of teens, okay? Unfortunately, we see our fair share of it. 14.8% of deaths are due to motor vehicle crashes between teenagers 15 and 20. 31% have been drinking. 74% were not wearing seatbelts. And 45 people had another person in the car. Obviously, seatbelts are important, not drinking is important, and being distracted is actually one of the leading causes now of teenage accidents. Obviously, you just saw the car out front. So what impairs you, right? Alcohol impairs you, prescription medications, illicit drugs. But some of these are the other things that you don't think about, right? Eating, drinking, obviously everyone knows about texting, changing the station on the radio, being angry or upset behind the wheel, right? You don't want to drive when you're very emotional. So obviously these are things that affect your ability to concentrate and the amount they do. That's where we work. You've all probably driven by where we work. All right, you're not going to arrive this way. You're too close. All right, you're too close. By the time they call for the helicopter to come, they probably have to drive you away from the hospital to land it and then drive you back. So we usually get you from here. When you first show up, Where do you show up to? This is a picture of the trauma bed. It's a very square room, 2 beds, lots of people. I hope you guys aren't too modest. When you show up to us and we start working on you, there'll be at least 8 people in the room. A couple x-ray techs, the doctor, my physician assistant, 2 nurses, the trauma tech. This is sort of what it looks like. That's Dr. D'Amelio, he's my old boss. None of you own your tux, so if you don't want it cut up and thrown in the corner, don't come to me, because the first thing we're going to do is you're going to be able to see where all your injuries are, so usually your stuff winds up shredded in the corner. This is not the floor you want your tux on or your dress on. That's what it's going to look like. You're going to get 8 or 9 people around. This is 4. This is probably in the middle of the night. That's the only time you only get 4 people. All right, that's someone who actually did something smart. That person did what? They wore their seatbelt, right? And that's probably one of the reasons why they're probably with us. All right, you get an engine tube in your nose. You got the collar around your neck. You're all beat up. You got chest tubes here, you got intubation, you got a tube in your throat if you're not breathing well. Your leg could be on backwards. Right, that's not right? That's going the wrong way. And it happens. It happens. It shouldn't happen, but it happens too frequently. Now, where do we go from the trauma bay? If you're lucky and you're not dying on us, you get to go to CAT scan. All right? And we'll scan your head, your C-spine, your chest and pelvis to find out what's wrong with you. This is a good thing sometimes. If you can't, and this is the part where it's harder for me, if you can't, you need to go to the OR. Ask Annie, and this I'm gonna get choked up right now. Annie is a scrub nurse. When I first got to the hospital, when you guys are professionals and adults and get into the working world, there'll always be someone older than you at your job that will make sure that you're comfortable and you're taken care of. That was Annie for me. She was an OR nurse. If I needed equipment, if I was hungry, it was the middle of the night, she always took care of me. Annie was, I guess, in her early 70s when she finally decided to retire. So Annie retired from the hospital. She was driving in Bensalem, Pennsylvania, probably, with her daughter and granddaughter when she was hit by a drunk driver and killed. Only about 16 months or so after her retirement. So, I mean, I see it every day, but it also affects every one of us personally, and you'll know someone by the time you're too old that this has happened to. In my own high school class, by the time we were out of college, 2 kids in my class were already dead in alcohol-related incidents. One at Rutgers and one in Florida at school. So you're gonna see it, it's gonna happen, and it's unfortunate and it shouldn't happen. So you can wind up in the intensive care unit where you look like that one patient with all the tubes hanging out of them. You work in a surgical trauma unit if you're a little luckier, just because you're awake and talking to us. So 1 out of every 6 teenage drivers will be involved in a collision or in a motor vehicle collision. I have 2 kids in my household, that's 50%. And I'm a trauma surgeon, so it would be 50%. My son was not driving, but he was a passenger in a car with another teen, and they were involved in a car accident. Luckily, low speed and in the parking lot at the Quaker Ridge Mall. So, shout out to that Lawrence PD for calming my son's girlfriend down at the time who was driving. She was quite messed up at the time and upset, but they did a very nice job. So luckily, parking lot, but he was in an accident. You know, my first accident was in medical school, so I'm still here. All right, I had my seatbelt on, I just bumped somebody, but I wasn't drunk. I was not intoxicated, but it can happen at any point. 6.8% of these drivers will die. That's way too many. So you have 300 students in this class, right? So 1 in 6, I can't do the math, I was up all night. So that's like 1 in 6, that's like less than a third, right? That's what is that? It's a half of a third, right? It's like 15% or so. So there's like 45 of you. Think I did the math right? 45 of you that will be in a car accident, okay? 45. 6%, so 3 of you, just under 3 of you By statistics, it's not saying it. Your school could be 0, for all I know. My high school was, we had 2. All right, so it's pretty scary out there, at least for the parent of a teen driver. All right, when I look at find my friend's app, and I look to see where my son is, and it turns out my son's in New Hope, and he's got to get home to Montgomery, and I'm like watching the little dot go. You'll get there too. You may think I'm invading, but when you're a parent, I'm sure the technology will be even different. Your kids may be shit like your dog, for all I know, at the time you're parents. So you'll be emotional and you'll be nervous the whole way home. So please, wear your seatbelt. This is 2019. Driving while intoxicated should almost be a 0 event. It should never happen to that. Almost never happen to that. With all the ability to get rides and to communicate with people, you should almost never have to drive intoxicated if you have a cell phone and an app. All right, Uber, Lyft, whatever. Designate someone. The beauty of me is I never drank. So in medical school, I was always the designated driver. In college, I was a designated driver. As things went on through medical school, I got to drive nicer and nicer vehicles than my classmates, because I only had a Corolla. But my friends at the time, if you ever want to look back, had a Dodge Daytona and a Nissan Pathfinder, and I got to drive those cars for no reason other than they were drunk and I wasn't. So you might get to drive some nice cars as a designated driver. Your cell phones. Your cell phones. Another math quiz. If you're driving 55 miles an hour and you look down at your phone for 1 minute, how far did you travel? There's got to be someone in the math club here. Can someone do that math for me real quick?
Just under a mile.
It's football fields in distance, right? That's football fields in distance when you think about it. You look down, if there's a curve in the road, if it's a road you're unfamiliar with, or a road or someone steps out, you're going to hit them. So don't look down at your phones. Pay attention to other drivers. I know that's kind of difficult. We live in New Jersey. There's lots of cars on the road. There's a heavy-handed, that's obviously normally, right? That's not in the States, right? That's after World War II. Doesn't look like that in the States, but that's how many people we worry about. We worry about you. We don't want to see you. I never want to see any of you in a trauma bag. All right, we've had, in the last couple of years, now at least two local high school kids. 2. Both survived, but we've had 2 local high school kids, right, now. And, that's always tough for us because they're like family. They become like family to us, all right? So we don't want to see you. We don't want to see you with us, especially tonight. You gotta have a good time, all right? Everybody enjoy tonight. Next year gets infinitely harder. Infinitely harder. You may not know it now, but it will be infinitely harder next year. But you'll all survive because you're all bright, right? All right, we'll all get through this. All right, so thank you. I did hear that the quicker we go, the quicker you get out, so I'm done.
Thank you, Dr. Quinlan. Fantastic job. Dr. Quinlan saves lives. Please don't be before him, okay? Let's keep it to presentations and not real visits. Events like what you saw outside happen too often. In this year alone, in New Jersey, there have been 197 traffic fatalities. Look around. That's almost every one of us in the auditorium. Dead. All of us. Traffic crashes just this year, and that's to date. I just checked the updated stats while I was off on the side of the stage. That's 200 times almost that an officer has had to go to someone's house to make the notification your loved one is dead. And that's what you have to say. You can't minimize it. You have to be clear because people are in disbelief. And you have to be that blunt. Hi, you've never met me before, I'm here to tell you that your father, your mother, your brother, they're dead. But I'm not just talking about dying. Think about being in a wheelchair the rest of your life, being confined to bed, having a traumatic brain injury. Forget about your plans for your future. Everyone here, I'm sure, is eager to move on after graduation, enter adulthood, be independent. Imagine having to have your mom or your dad bathe you for the rest of your life, push you in a wheelchair. It happens. We've been blessed that it hasn't happened here. Don't let it, please. And we're not just talking about drunk driving either. We're talking about driving under the influence of marijuana, pills, other intoxicants. It's driving while texting. It's failing to wear a seatbelt. It's going too fast. It's all stuff under your control. It's all things you can prevent. Our crash outside was the end of things for one classmate, but for another, it's just the beginning. We've been to the trauma center with Dr. Quinlan. He explained the realities, and it's a long road ahead for those who are injured. If you've never been in a crash, it's terrible. Even minor crashes, they have lasting results, physically, emotionally. Now we're going to move on to the courtroom. Your classmate is going to be arraigned by our judge, Brian Duff. The consequences of irresponsible driving can cost you your freedom, your financial health, and all that you want for your future.
Also, you bring the defendant to the courtroom, please.
Please bring forward for arraignment, Alexa Asak.
Good morning. The Lawrence Township Municipal Court is now in session. Officers, please bring the defendant closer so I can speak directly to her. Thank you. This is the case of State versus Alexander Asak. Before I do anything else, I'm going to remind you of your right to remain silent. Anything you say in this courtroom has a very strong likelihood of being used against you in the prosecution on these charges. Do you understand that? You also have the right to counsel. If you cannot afford counsel, counsel will be provided to you. Do you understand that?
Yes.
I have before me a laundry list of charges, young lady. I have one charge of death by auto. It is a first-degree charge because it occurred within 1,000 feet of a school zone. First-degree charge, if convicted, carries with it a chance of incarceration between 10 and 20 years in prison. There is a presumption of incarceration. There are certain aggravating factors alleged in these charges, which would bring about an 85% parole ineligibility should you be convicted of that charge. Do you understand that charge? I will enter a not guilty charge on your behalf in connection with that charge. I also understand that there are 4 counts of aggravated assault by auto. There were 6 people in the car with you, say that?
There were 2 people in the car with me.
Person gets charged with aggravated assault by auto if they cause a motor vehicle accident while under the influence of alcohol, intoxicating substances, and the like. In New Jersey, you can also be charged with aggravated assault by auto if you're texting while driving. That is a second-degree offense because it occurred within 1,000 feet of school property. If convicted, you face 5 to 10 years in prison on each of those counts. Do you understand those charges?
Yes.
Driving while intoxicated in New Jersey, you're under the age of 21, isn't that correct? I seem to recognize you from coaching you. Under 21, any amount of alcohol in a person's system can bring about a charge for driving while intoxicated. If the readings, whether it be breath or blood, are 0.08 or higher, those are the same for what it would be for somebody who was legal to consume alcohol. If convicted, you would face between 7 months and 1 year loss of driving privileges. Up to 30 days in prison, but that pales in comparison to the criminal charges pending against you. You'd have to do up to 24 or 48 hours in the Intoxicated Driving Resource Center. I'm going to enter not guilty pleas as to all of those charges as well. Those are non-indictable charges. This court doesn't have jurisdiction over those charges until the criminal charges are resolved. With regard to bail, New Jersey no longer has a cash bail system, Ms. Asak. I'm going to remand you to the Mercer County Workhouse. Within 72 hours, you will have a determination hearing where a judge at the Superior Court level will weigh a number of different factors in making a determination whether you will be remanded in the workhouse pending your trial or whether you'll be released out. There are two very significant factors that weigh against you being released. First of all, your age at the time of this alleged offense. You're under age 21. Say second, I'm sorry that you come before me under this set of circumstances. I have no alternative but to remand you to the Mercer County Workhouse. You'll have your bail hearing within 72 hours. Also, would you please take the defendant away? Good morning. Hey, I'm Brian Duff. I actually live here in Lawrence. I'm having a wardrobe malfunction. So a number of you guys I know from the neighborhood and from the community. Your older siblings of some of my children's brothers and sisters and friends and the like. I've coached some of you guys. Dr. Quinlan covered a lot of the areas that I usually like to talk to you guys about, and I understand that the sooner we get out of here, the better you guys get let out and ready for your prom. That's wonderful. We talk to you about these things because they can significantly alter your life. Not just your life, your family's life, the victim's lives, the victim's family's lives. Those are things that we just want you to bear in mind when you head out to have what you intend to have is a good time tonight. Your prom, any type of gatherings you do afterwards. There is a lot less flexibility in today's day and age with what can happen after an accident of this magnitude. Right? So we just ask you to keep in mind, make some good decisions when you get out there. Like I said, I live in this community. I coach in this community. I volunteer in this community. I don't want to see any of you guys end up having to be in a newspaper, some of these horrific outcomes. You guys have worked extremely hard to get to this point. I understand that there's a lot of positive things that you guys have had as a class, as a whole, as individuals. I wish you the best of luck as you finish up your high school careers. I encourage you to make some good decisions tonight. If anything that we said helps, just slice the part, ever so slightly, to increase your decision-making with regard to certain things you may or may not do. I'm grateful that I've been asked and invited to speak to you about it. Have a really good time. Also, thank you so much for including me.
Thank you, Mr. Duff. New Jersey town copes with tragic prom weekend crash that claimed life of teen who lit up every room. This was from 2 weeks ago in New Jersey. Funeral services set, vigil being planned for New Jersey teen killed in prom weekend crash as investigation continues. Like most 17-year-old high schoolers, Alexis looked forward to prom for months. She bought a gold dress with a slight train, fixed her blonde hair into a half ponytail with loose curls. She sang in full voice and danced the night away. As the prom came to a close, the group celebrated the end of another year at high school at a friend's house. That's the last night most of them would ever see her. Alexis died the very next day in a car with some of her friends after their post-prom. I don't know exactly what happened, but I know the 17-year-old driver, her friend, has been charged with her death, criminally. I don't know if it was drugs, I don't know if it was cell phone, I'm not sure. But he did something criminal that took her life, an innocent crash, an innocent fun drive after the prom. I know that you're getting out early today for your prom. You were supposed to. Instead, because of the death of one of your classmates, we're closing the school so you could grieve and attend her funeral. Please join me.
I went to a party, Mom. I remembered what you said. You told me not to drink, so I had soda instead. I felt really proud inside, Mom, the way you said I would. I didn't drink and drive, Mom, even though the others said I should. I know I did the right thing, Mom. I know you were always right. Now the party's finally ending, as everyone is driving out of sight. As I got into my car, Mom, I knew I would make it home in one piece because of the way you raised me, so responsible and sweet. As I started to drive away, Mom, and I pulled out to the road, the other car didn't see me, Mom. It hit me like a load. As I lay there on the pavement, Mom, I can hear the policeman say, "The other girl is drunk, Mom, but I'm the one who'll pay." I'm lying here dying, Mom. I wish you'd get here soon. How could this happen to me, Mom? My life just burst like a balloon. I'm surrounded by blood, Mom, and most of it is mine. I hear the medics say, Mom, I'll die in a short time. I just wanted to tell you, Mom, I swear I didn't drink. It was the others, Mom. The others didn't think. Why do people drink, Mom? It can ruin your whole life. I'm feeling sharp pains now, pains just like a knife. The girl who hit me is walking, Mom, and I don't think it's fair. I'm lying here dying, and all she can do is stare. Tell my brother not to cry, Mom. Tell Daddy to be brave. And when I go to heaven, Mom, Daddy's girl on my grave. My breath is getting shorter, Mom. I'm becoming very scared. Please don't cry for me, Mom. When I needed you, you were always there. I have one last question, Mom, before I say goodbye. I didn't drink and drive, Mom, so why am I the one to die?
What you have seen this morning is the sad reality of impaired and distracting driving. The risks, they're very real. As I said to you before, I'm a 1995 graduate from this high school. I sat in this auditorium just like you, and sadly, I lost classmates, and it was due to drug and alcohol use and traffic fatalities. It's important to me. It's important to me to keep you safe, to keep our community safe. I'm not here to lecture you. I'm here today because I care. Everyone who participated today, we all care. We care about you. We care about this community. We want you to be safe. And I know every time that I come to this school for work, for other things, whether I was coaching, personal activities here, I know that the staff, the administration, the teachers, they care about you guys. And you don't have that at every school. Anytime I come in for police work, the assistant principals, they know each of you. You matter to them. You matter to us. We want you to have a wonderful prom, a great graduation, a successful life, and we want to celebrate all of your successes. We want to be able to talk about the kid who grew up in Lawrence and graduated from Lawrence High and is a success story. And that's measured in all sorts of ways. All sorts of ways. Raising great kids, having a good job, helping people, you name it. We want that to be you. Please make it you. Please look out for each other, be responsible, and keep each other in check and be responsible for each other. Enjoy your prom, congratulations, and thank you so much for your attention.
Okay, we got one more speaker that, before me and Ms. D get on and close it out, before we bring her up, can you please give our first responders, our police officers, our firefighters, and our actors a round of applause. Thank you guys, we appreciate it. So, Ms. Gerard, Officer Gerard is going to come. She wants to address you guys. This is the first year of us having an SRO, and you know there was a lot of trepidation and unease in the community about having an SRO, but she's come and made herself one of the family, and here at LHS we consider ourselves family. So she wanted to address you guys before you go, so I told her I could give her some time.
Your attention today. I hope everyone took something away from the presentation this morning. There's a lot of first responders, a lot of things that went into making this happen today. In September, I came here as a stranger. Okay, I didn't know any of you guys, and I feel like now we're coming on to June, graduation. I'm thankful that I got to know a lot of you personally. Maybe say hi in the halls. It really means a lot. We do this because we care. We care about the decisions that you make, not only tonight at prom, but every night from here on out, and every day. I've been on accident scenes exactly like that out there. I've been to people's houses. I've told parents that their son or daughter has passed away. It really affects you. It affects me, and it affects the parents more than you could, and family and friends more than you know. It's all about making the right decision. I always say if you have to think twice, you probably shouldn't do it. Okay, so tonight we want you to have a great time. Myself and Detective Burns will be there tonight. If you need anything, please don't hesitate. But you also need to understand, if anyone's under the influence, if anyone smells of alcohol or anything like that, action will be taken, your night will be over. Okay? We want you to enjoy yourself tonight without any type of alcohol or other drugs. We want you to have a good time with your friends. All right? I'll see everyone tonight.
Hey, seniors, it's Miss D. You psyched? Yeah, you hyped for tonight. This is your rite of passage going into prom. Okay, so Miss D has a message for you. I think that you all got the message today, reiterated to you a bunch of times. All right, I have the wonderful opportunity of watching you guys grow up. And it's the most amazing, enlightening, enriching, wonderful experience for a person like me and all the teachers that you touched their lives with. But now is the time for you to be the adults, the young adults that you're going to need to be. And I cannot stress this enough. There is really no reason whatsoever that anyone should think about putting themselves behind the wheel of a car, or better yet, going to an environment where you're not taking responsibility for yourselves. And I'm making that plural, because you all need to take care of each other. And taking care of each other is really important. When you see your friends in a situation, take care of your friend. And what that means is be the right person in the right frame of mind to make good decisions. If someone else can't make that decision, you make that decision for them. This is the first year, I will tell you, Miss D does here, okay? So I hear a lot of stories and I get a lot of information. And I keep that to myself because I never judge an individual and I will never do that. But this is the first year that I've had that I did not get seniors in my office telling me how excited they were about whatever decision they're making going somewhere, and telling me of the people that were going to be in the house or in wherever they're choosing to go, and designating people in the evening to be the responsible ones. So any of you out there that are going and venturing off into whatever choice you're making, whether it's the Poconos, the shore, wherever, I am asking you to be responsible young adults and make sure that you take care of each other, because it's really important. As Officer Drew said, there was a death right around the corner from us in Montgomery this year. And that was the young man who was behind the wheel of a car whose dad rented him a Mercedes, and they were leaving and he was drinking and he was texting. And he killed his girlfriend. And there's another young man who does speak at Montgomery, and I spoke to a friend of mine this morning. He came to speak to their high school. He killed one of his friends in a car, and he went to jail for 5 years. And he had a full ride to Duke University to play lacrosse. That was no longer in existence anymore. He spent 5 years of his young life in jail. So these are the types of programs that we want you to remember during this weekend and in your future. To remember to take care of each other. Really, take care of, you have Uber, you have Lyft, you have all kinds of things at your fingertips, but a majority of you don't do this, and I know that. So when you go out and have a great time, enjoy your night, get decked out, look all that in a bag of chips, you guys and you gals, have yourself a really good time. Be careful.
Before we get too far with the dance moves, let's talk for 1 second, because there's 260 kids in this graduating class. So when we graduate at the arena, I want all 260 seats filled. I do not want to have to lay a cap and gown over a seat because one of you are missing, because somebody has made a poor decision. So I want you to think about that, because in the end, you have a community of adults, you have a great community surrounding you, and we look at you guys as our kids. I have one daughter, and people ask me, why do you only have one daughter? Well, that's because that's all I can handle. I have one daughter that's biological, and I have 1,200 kids, which are my own. And you guys know, Ms. Fisher is aware as well. We do it the same. We tri-parent. All three of us are your parents. So the last thing we want to do, I just made up a word. Last thing we want to do is make sure that you guys are there, right? We don't want to have to close school because there was a situation that occurred. And you see what I'm holding. You see what I'm holding. This is our breathalyzer. We bring it to every prom. We use it when we need to use it. It's not a threat, it's a promise. Because in the end, I'd rather catch you at the prom, have your parents come pick you up, and make sure you get home safe, than me turn the other cheek and sit over a casket wishing that I had intervened. We take our jobs very seriously. It's because we love you guys. That's what it's about. We had a speaker come in that talked about agape love, right? And what that means. What that means is, you guys know what it means. We care about you, okay? There's another conversation that I want to talk about, and it's called respect. It's called consent, right? Because once we roll out we get out past prom, right? And then you guys start going out into the world, into your own, right? We want to make sure we are respecting each other. That doesn't just go for boys respecting girls. That goes for girls respecting boys respecting boys, girls respecting girls. Consent. You guys know what it is. We want to make sure that stays in the forefront of your brain. Because again, I'm going to circle back. You all are our kids, right? And when one of our kids makes a dumb mistake, we feel it. It's because we love you guys. Ms. D, did you want to add anything?
Just to give you perspective, I don't want to be able to come in on Tuesday and have individuals in my office with regret, with remorse. I don't want to have that. I want all the stories to be told on Monday or Tuesday about all the great times you had, because you will be here to be able to share those stories with each other. Gentlemen and ladies, as Mr. Williams said, it is really important as real men and as real women that you take responsibility for your actions and you put yourselves in good places. So that means respect each other, because you do, and that's a really incredible part of what I love about Lawrence. It's that you guys really do take care of each other. So continue that momentum through the rest of your 3 weeks here, and that when we see you walk across that stage, and I'm snotting and crying because you're all leaving, and it's a really good, wonderful feeling, you're all there with no regrets and no remorse. That's important. Have a great